It's time for the Prophecy Pulse podcast, tuning in to heaven's end time signals with your host, Nick Johnston of Never Unprepared Ministries.
Okay. Well, good morning, George.
Good morning, Nick.
Good to see you again.
Likewise. Thank you.
And today we're covering part 4, which there's a lot of stuff in part 4. This is where we started getting into the trumpets and bowls.
Yes. So I'm just going to jump in. We start with seal 4.
Yeah.
And you've titled that "Death and the Grave Make Their Big Debut."
That's right. So up to this point, we've had the first 3 seals, and these are the actors. These are the main people on the bad side showing up. You know, we had the white horse rider, which was the guy who comes to save the world. And then we have the red horse rider, which I say is the same guy. He's just, his white is rubbing off now. It's really revealing that he's a bright red horse, as is the Antichrist. Then we have the black horse rider with the 2 scales who sets up the system. So everything's in place. So this is all early in the 3.5 years. And then at some point, once the temple is rebuilt, everything is in place for this. What's going to happen next? And then the rider on the green horse, or some people say dappled horse, whatever, makes its debut, and that means death and destruction. So this is where the Antichrist has authorized the destruction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you make the point, let's see, you quote Revelation 6, verses 7 and 8, when the Lamb broke the 4th seal, that's Jesus.
That's right.
Broke the 4th
Because
seal.
Jesus is the one who is worthy to open this book. He was the one who won the first half of the contest. Now he's opening the 4th seal. So he's controlling the timing.
Yes. And he's opened the 4th seal, and John heard the 4th living being say, "Come." I looked up and saw a horse whose color was pale green. And skipping down a little, given authority over 1/4 of the earth to kill with the sword and famine and disease and wild animals. When it says kill with the sword, what do you think that means? Is that literal?
Yes, I think that's where he's, and this is what we see. They're going to be beheaded. People that resist the mark are going to be beheaded, and that's with the sword. It's also a sword that could be for his conquering efforts. He's going to have authority over 1/4 of the earth. I don't think that necessarily means he's going to kill 1/4 of the earth. He could, but he has dominion over that 1/4 of the earth. That's under his firm control. Now remember, he's got control over the entire world because of the economic system he's controlling. But actual dominion and power and authority, he's given it over 1/4 of the earth.
And we look at, you then get into your explanation of the seals, the bowls, the trumpets, the relationship between the trumpets and the bowls, and you give some clarification based on your study and your research of how the trumpets and bowls will roll out. It's different. It's not completely unique. I'm sure others have come up with some similar explanation, but I like your approach. You've basically explained it in a way that the seals lead to the trumpets that lead to the bowls.
That's right. This is the traditional sequence of, if you read Revelation as a book, one from the beginning to the end, and believe it's in the sequence it's supposed to be in. The seals come first, 1 through 7. The trumpets come next, 1 through 7, and the bowls come next, 1 through 7.
And that just doesn't work.
It doesn't work, and it's not the intention. I don't believe. I think it was their lists, yes, but they're not lists that are in the integrated sequence, and we'll go through that later. But
yeah, we'll get into that. And you point out an important pattern of 3 6s. Even though there's 7 trumpets, there's 7 bowls, there's 7 seals.
That's right. And it became clear to me when I was going back and forth, as I was looking at each of the seals, each of the trumpets, and I'm putting all this in a spreadsheet, and I'm categorizing them, And I keep going back and forth. And as I keep going back and forth, you find the 6 trumpets or the 6 seals really easy. And then you get there's other narrative, other things happening, and then you find the 7th seal. So there's a gap. Same thing happens in the trumpets, and then the same thing happens in the bowls. I'm like, wait a minute, why are we're given 1 through 6? Click, 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 click. Something else happens, and then the 7th. And in all 3 of those instances, there is a break. And I was like, there must be a reason for that break. And I believe it's because God set aside the 7th of each of those for himself. And when you look at what they all do, it makes sense that those are all something he's bringing in. And we can talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. You say in here the 7th seal is 30 minutes of silence. We're not there yet, but the 7th trumpet is the awaited announcement.
Yeah, so the 7th seal gives you the 30 minutes of complete silence. Nothing's going to happen. No sound is going to be made. It's the pause before the announcement, and it's such a magnificent announcement. It warrants 30 minutes of complete and utter silence. Not even a mosquito is going to be buzzing. And then when the trumpet's announced, the kingdoms of the world have become the kingdoms of our God. This is the transfer of power from Satan to as the king of the earth to Jesus as king of the earth. That is a magnificent announcement. And then you have the 7th bowl. So
the day of the Lord.
The seventh trumpet is the day of the Lord.
Oh, okay.
And then the 7th bowl is the complete silence. So the 7th seal allows it. The 7th trumpet announces it, and the 7th bowl. Let me think. What does the 7th bowl do? The 7th bowl. What does it say? The
7th bowl is poured out, and a pronouncement is made from the temple. It is done.
It is done. That's right. So I'll have to cut that out.
Yeah.
So those 3 things.
You want to cover that again?
Well, yeah, but let's do it because
okay. Let's do it again. All right. So the 7th seal is 30 minutes of silence, and it's followed by
the 7th trumpet.
7th trumpet,
which is the announcement that the kingdoms of the world have become the kingdoms of the Lord, which is what we've all been waiting for.
The day of the Lord.
The day of the Lord. That's what announces it. And then once those events are done, the 7th bowl is poured out, and that's a pronouncement that says it is done. Now there's other things that happen with it, but that says it is done. It's complete. So those are why I say God set aside the 7th of each. Just like he set aside the 7th day as a day of rest after things are complete. The 7th of each of those are set aside for him.
I just noticed, and I didn't notice this when I read that, but that's very similar to what Jesus said on the cross.
It is finished. Yes.
It is finished. It is done. I mean, perhaps the wording was the same or obviously very close.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I think it's testatista, but it's something in Greek. I'll have to look it up and see, because that's a good point.
Yeah.
It is finished.
God reserved the 7s for himself. And historically, in Jewish culture, 7 is completeness.
That's right. That's right. So I think all those things work together to say these are not sequential all the way at the 7th. The 7th is set aside. They'll all happen at the same sequential 7, 7, and 7.
The traditional view doesn't work.
That's right. When you consider these 7th and what they're doing, the traditional rule, it doesn't make sense that they would happen so far apart.
So looking at 12.3, where you talk about Satan as allotted powers, each preceded by a loud trumpet blast, you revert back to the book of Job as a background of how God has granted Satan limited powers in the past, and how he will do so in the future.
Yeah, there's nothing new under the sun. That was the premise I used when I was going through and looking for all these connections. And in the book of Job tells us that when Satan went to heaven, apparently he does this all the time, and God asked him what he was doing. He said he was walking to and fro, and he said, if you considered my servant Job, and he basically, when God said that, he's saying, well, Job is an upright man, and Satan said, no, he is only upright because you blessed him.
Yeah.
And you put a hedge around him, so nothing can happen to him. So that was a challenge to God. He basically called God a liar in front of the council of God, whatever that council is. He called him a liar essentially in front of that, and so he allowed him powers to test Job, everything except kill him. And one of those powers was he could call down the fire of God, and he called down the fire of God and burned up Job's sheep and other things. And we're going to see that same power in the very first trumpet. It's interesting that it's the very first trumpet that he's allowed to call down the fire and burn up 1/3 of the trees, 1/3 of the grass, 1/3 of the earth. Limited. So just like it was limited in Job, it's going to be limited in the first trumpet.
I've highlighted and circled this section in this same explanation of Job because it's so poignant for how we view our interactions with God and our pain and suffering. You say this answers the question of why God would send these afflictions on everyone, including Christians. He's done it before to test and strengthen faith, demonstrating that suffering can serve a greater purpose in growing and building up one's devotion to Him. But you say God placed specific limits on the power He allowed Satan to temporarily wield.
That's right. We think that, we ask why do bad things happen to good people sometimes?
Yes.
Well, that's all because of free will. But and one of the reasons we will be going through the Great Tribulation is because we will come out either refined as gold, or will we come out as the dross that's scraped off the gold. It's a time, because remember at the very beginning of Revelation we have the 7 churches, and 5 of those 7 churches are not ready to go to heaven.
Yes.
That's 70% of the people, of the Christians, are not ready. And in his grace and mercy, He's going to put us through pressure, and hopefully we'll be refined. And that's what He's doing here.
Yeah, and as we read further, that pressure becomes very evident. If you are not prepared, if you don't have on your full armor, you are going to suffer.
That's right.
You're going to suffer regardless, but you're really going to suffer if.
That's right.
Yeah, if you don't have full armor.
The full armor that He gives us in Ephesians 6 is what we have, what we will be using during that time, and we can use now.
You talk about the powers that Satan was allowed to wield. God removed his protection from Job's property. So Satan attacked his property. Satan was allowed to use the fire of God, which burned up all 7,000 of Job's sheep and the shepherds. And then he was allowed to control one aspect of the weather.
That's right. A whirlwind came.
The great wind, and it blew down Job's son's home.
Killed everybody. Except for one servant who escaped to tell. It's interesting how one servant was able to
in each case,
tell. And that was how Satan was breaking him down. So this is the account. There's no question what happened. And
and also in that first one where he gave Satan the power to persuade Job's enemies to attack.
The Sabaeans and the other Moradin group.
Yep.
So he used his power of deception and persuasion to instigate, and he's going to be doing that again, bringing troops against God, against God's people.
It's interesting, and I liked, you pointed this out in that same section. God never justifies to Job why he allowed all of these tragedies to befall his faithful servant. Job never knew this side of heaven. One reason God allows Satan to inflict this tribulation on Job is to give us a window into heaven and inform us about this contest between God and Satan, which gives us valuable insight into the trumpets of the end time.
That's right. Job never knew about the conversation that occurred in heaven. We know it because it was documented. But he
was just on the receiving end.
He was on the receiving end,
and he hung tight.
That's right.
He hung in there.
And that's an amazing book, an amazing tale.
It is.
And Satan kept alive, and this is kind of going off track, but Satan kept alive his wife.
Yes.
He could have, because he could harm everything but the man. He could have, possibly, but he didn't, because he put the words in his wife's mouth that Satan used in heaven. you take away his hedge and his protection, and he'll curse you. And as Job's wife used, the person closest to him in his time of suffering said, "Why don't you just curse God and die?" That was words right out of Satan's mouth. And so he kept her to use as the last little stab in the heart. And he still withstood that. Yeah.
It's an amazing story.
It is amazing. I think Job is just an incredible story.
Let's jump into the first 6 trumpets.
Okay. 12.4.
I'm in 12.4, yeah. So the first was the power of the fire of God, right? Satan. Right. God allows Satan to control the fire of God, which fell from heaven and burned up all of Job's sheep. This power is nearly identical to the power unleashed during the first trumpet. It talks about the first angel blew his trumpet, and there followed hail and fire, mixed with blood, and these were thrown upon the earth. And a third of the earth was burned up, and a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up.
That's a pretty huge fire. We've never had anything that big.
No.
And you think about the consequences of that. There's going to be smoke everywhere. There's going to be destruction everywhere.
Also, it's going to affect the temperature of the world.
Good, because the smoke is going to block the sun. It's going to get colder.
That's happened before.
With volcanic eruptions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You make the point, each trumpet releases a little more power and crescendos with the 6th trumpet when the Antichrist is given control of 200 million horsemen who could destroy much of humanity. But once again, even with all that destructive power, he will be limited to killing only 1/3 of all men.
That's right. And every one of the trumpets, 5 of the 7, if you don't include the 7th, you got
5 of the 6.
Yeah, they're limited to 1/3 of whatever it might be, or in one case, it's not 1/3. In the 5th trumpet, it's actually limited to, they can't kill, and it's only going to last 5 months, but it's always limited. Every one of the trumpets you see has a limitation. That tells you also something else, because none of the bowls, as we'll get to that, have a limitation. It's all, everything or all are affected. So all the water, is affected with blood, whereas the trumpet, it's always limited. So there are, just like God limited Job, what Satan could do to Job, he limits every one of these.
This is sort of a leading question, but you make the point, God is a God of order and justice. Though Satan used deception and trickery to wrest the kingdom from Adam, God will not forcefully seize the kingdom back from Satan. I think that's an important point to make, because the reader might be wondering, why is God allowing all this? He's allowing all this because it was written in the book.
That's right. He's keeping his word. He's, and so Satan was a great deceiver, but God is not going to do the same thing. He's going to give him the opportunity to maintain or to lose his kingdom.
Let's see, I'm moving over to you make a point that in the same section, that in Revelation 8:2-5, John gives us a fascinating firsthand account of how prayers are gathered and sent before God.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, it's interesting, and he talks about it. And another angel came and stood at the altar with a golden censer, and he was given much incense to offer with the prayers of the saints. So these prayers of the saints go before the Lord at the same time incense goes before the Lord. We're never anywhere else told about how our prayers that you and I make go before the Lord. That is, to me, that's just fascinating. And they rose before God from the hand of the angel. And it's interesting, this passage in 8:2 is before the trumpets are sounding. So this makes me think that God's people know, they're seeing what's happening, they're understanding the signs of the times, and they are using their full armor with those verses they've got memorized, and they are praying fervently for protection during this time that's about to happen. And these prayers are coming before. God's telling us here that he's going to, it might sound like, where is God during this time? He's telling us that he's here and he's listening to our prayers.
He hears us.
He hears us.
But there is a plan.
There's a plan. It's got to play out, and a lot of people are going to die.
Yeah.
But They're going to get strong. If they would have died before, you got to think about this. This is God's plan to save those 70%. Try to. If they're going to be saved, this is going to be their opportunity. It's His mercy that He didn't take us instantly, because 70% wouldn't have made it. He tells us that things that they couldn't do, like the first church, they did all these great things, but they lost their first love. Their first love is Jesus. If you don't have Jesus, if you don't have the love of Jesus, it doesn't matter what you do in your church or what you do as a Christian, you're not going to heaven. And so these, in His mercy, He realizes the state of the apostasy, the state of the church. And this crucible is going to heat up everybody. And some are going to be dross and wiped away to hell, and some are going to be refined as gold. So it's His mercy doing this. And it's hard for us to really understand that. When you think about all this terrible things happening, it's our chance. It's our chance to refine our faith for those 70% of the people that are not ready for heaven when this starts, of the Christians that are not ready.
And the other part of all this is it's God's revelation of Himself to the heavenly host.
That's true. That He is proving to them that He is just.
Yes, He keeps His word.
That's right.
He is sovereign, and He will ultimately triumph, even with this challenge by His creation, Satan.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's sobering.
Trumpets are not God's judgments or wrath. I know we've said that before, but it's important to emphasize that, I think. The trumpets are sounded in heaven, but they are a signal that Satan can use a certain limited power, and whatever that is, according to that trumpet, Satan is behind it. That's right. Satan is controlling it.
The only trumpet is the seventh trumpet that talks about wrath, and that's Jesus' wrath. When He comes back, He's going to, His vengeance is going to be taken out. And the first six are, I don't think Satan is going to appreciate the sound of the trumpet. He's going to want that sound, because that doles him out the next little measure of power. He doesn't have any power until that trumpet sounds. So He's going to wait, and he can't control when those trumpets are sounded. Jesus is controlling that. So He's going to wait until that trumpet sounded, and then that trumpet sounds, and I think we're going to hear about the two witnesses. I think the two witnesses are going to taunt Him, because you have no power until this next trumpet sound. What are you going to do now? You know, that kind of thing. Just like they did with like Elijah did with the prophets of Baal.
I circled this section. Satan was allotted power to test Job. Satan and his Antichrist will torment men to try to get them to reject Christ and accept Him and His mark.
That's right. Yeah, he's not just trying to kill people. He is trying to. He tried his persuasion before this fourth horse gave him authority to kill everybody. He tried persuasion and cajoling and deception to get people to early adopt that mark and take his side. Now, he is going to try to frighten them, just paralyze them into taking that mark. And that's his goal. And if they don't take the mark, he's going to kill them. So his goal is to get people to take the mark, not to kill them.
So we're explicitly told that the bowls are God's wrath and God's judgments. And in the book of Exodus, God used His witnesses, Moses and Aaron, to call down 10 plagues upon Egypt. Moses and Aaron were serving as God's ambassadors and witnesses. So now we have 2 new witnesses who are...
And one may be Moses, we don't know.
Right, we don't know.
He sounds like he fits the bill, though. Yeah, so God has used this before. There's nothing new under the sun. He's used the plagues.
Yes.
He's used the 2 witnesses. We didn't call them 2 witnesses when we had Moses and Aaron, but that's what they were. They were serving as witnesses. And in fact, when Moses said, who do I say sent me? And he said, I am that I am. Yeah. So he is witnessing that God sent him. That's a witness. And this is the same thing the 2 witnesses are going to be doing too. The 2 witnesses have the power to call down every kind of plague as often as they want. And these are the plagues we're describing.
It says, so the parallels are 2 witnesses again. But But this time, the witnesses will administer the plagues by directing angels to release the contents of their bowls.
That's right. Yeah. The angels, we're told about how it works in heaven with each of the angels having a bowl. Mm-hmm. And the witnesses are going to be calling on those to release their bowls.
You draw some parallels between Revelation, bowls, and plagues, and the Exodus plagues. Don't know that we need to mention all those, but that's brought out in this section.
Yeah, there's
anything
things
in particular you wanted to point out?
Well, I mean, the water into blood, the complete darkness.
Locusts?
The
different locusts.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the sores that.
The boils.
The boils.
Mm-hmm.
They had boils. The ones that was the first bowl that the
festering sores.
Yeah, they give the festering sores that never heal.
And the sea turns to blood, and the river, drinking water, is spoiled.
So we're seeing a repeat. There's nothing new under the sun. Not everyone is the same as before, but he gives us enough that they're saying, wait a minute, this is something that's happened before, and I'm going to be doing it again. Only this time, worldwide, it's going to be a bigger thing. But the darkness is interesting because that goes, the darkness that Moses calls down, and then the darkness that the two witnesses call down later. And that's only on the territory of the Antichrist.
Hard to imagine how that's going to work.
I know. I mean, you can think about where the border of that territory is. One side's light and one side's not. And it's not just darkness. It's not just like, oh, I can't see much.
Right.
It's so dark. It's like you're plunged into. It's like it's liquid. It's complete, utter darkness. Nothing's going to work. No night vision goggles are going to work because there's no light at all to magnify by the night vision goggles. Pretty hard to imagine.
In addition to the plagues, the witnesses can stop the rain.
That's right. Elijah did that for 3.5 years, and they're going to be able to stop the rain for 3.5 years. So they have all kinds of power. They can call down fire on anybody that tries to kill them. They're going to be like superhumans because you can't kill them until their testimony is done.
Yeah.
So these two witnesses are witnessing something. They're giving a testimony. Their testimony is that the Antichrist is not God. The false witness is not Jesus.
And they are men.
And they are men. They're real flesh and blood men.
Yes.
But that's why I call them, they're superhumans. We have superhero cartoons, but these are really superhumans. The Antichrist, is going to try to kill them multiple times, and he can't touch them.
They are protected.
They are protected until their testimony is complete.
Mm-hmm. And then they are killed.
And they are killed because their testimony is the first 6.
Mm-hmm.
The 7th is God's.
I'm going to jump ahead to 12.7.
Okay.
God's word is your superpower. Prepare your armor now.
Yeah. This is our hope.
Mm-hmm. Why would God pour out his bowls of wrath on everyone, the good and the evil, the just and the unjust? Well, Scripture's filled with examples of God's blessings as well as his judgments, reaching all people. We live in a fallen world. Mm-hmm. There are consequences to sin. There is salvation available, but there's consequences to sin.
Yeah.
And Satan is the prince of the air. He's the prince of this world we're living in for now. He can control bad things.
Mm-hmm. To a certain extent, he has.
Yeah. God certainly has influence as well where he sees fit, and he can answer prayers.
That's right.
But we're subject to the influences of Satan.
Yeah. In
this mortal realm. So.
Yeah, I think I like Daniel 12:10. I pulled that in there. Many will be purified, cleansed, and refined by these trials, and I think he's talking about the plagues.
The future, yeah.
Yeah, but the wicked will continue in their wickedness. It's not gonna change them, and none of them will understand. Only those who are wise will know what it means, and the implication is they'll get themselves ready to meet Jesus. That's Daniel.
Yeah, and you've made the point, God is allowing the world, especially lukewarm or unprepared believers who ignored Jesus' warning in the Olivet Discourse, an opportunity to strengthen their commitment and deepen their dependence on him. Yeah. Much like the multiple chances that Pharaoh was given.
We are given multiple chances. It's the mercy of God that He allows us the chance to recover. If you're one of those 70% of the people at the end times that are not ready, you consider yourselves a Christian, but you're just not. You don't even have the basics. You've forgotten your first love in one case of the churches. It's His mercy to allow you to reconnect, to purify yourselves before to get purified before the final, before you're killed. So it's a second chance, essentially.
And you say, if you fall prey to the Antichrist's great deception, you risk hearing the 5 most terrifying words on Judgment Day: I do not know you. That is sobering.
It is. When you think that they considered themselves, obviously they wouldn't have said that if they didn't think they were Christians.
Yeah.
But they didn't. And I like this one in Revelation also at the very beginning, when he's talking about the 7 churches. He says, those whom I love I reprove and discipline. So this is why they're going through the crucible. He's reproving them, discipline. So he just talked to the churches and showed the bad parts of them, that it's not going to get them to heaven. And now he says, I love you, and I'm going to reprove and discipline you, and hopefully if you'll change your ways because of the discipline and reproof. So that's God's mercy.
12.7b is titled, Prepared Christians Prepare Their Armor. That's our preparation.
That's right.
Spiritually prepared Christians will endure pain, suffering, and deprivation as well, but it will be tempered by their foreknowledge of each event that will unfold. They will draw strength from donning their spiritual armor, lifting their prayers to God, and standing firm in the assurance that the final stage of God's plan for justice is unfolding in their lifetime, and that Jesus Christ will ultimately prevail. I hadn't even thought about that. They will know that all this is going to happen in their lifetime. We don't know that this is going to happen in our lifetime, but once this does begin, all Christians will know it's happening now. There'll be no doubt.
And those that are prepared, that know that have studied the 1/6 of the Bible that talks about the end times, will be ready, and they'll need to train those others that are not. Let them know what's happening, because the Bible at this point is gone.
Yeah.
So they're relying on their knowledge to train other people, what they've memorized and what they remember, and they're focusing their prayers at this time on what's coming up. Otherwise, they're going to be slammed to and fro by everything happening. Like, now there's fire, and now there's blood in the water, and now
woe is me.
Woe is me. I have no idea what's coming next if you don't know the Bible and don't know the prophecies. And can you imagine how tormenting that's going to be? But if you have the foreknowledge, okay, that's happening, so we know to expect this next. This is how we pray. This is how we prepare. And those that are ready will have to help those that are less ready. And that's part of our deal. That's part of our full armor of God, is making sure we're ready to train others too.
It says, when those trials begin, following the Antichrist's desecration of the temple, the boldness and unshakable confidence of prepared Christians in the face of persecution will shine like a beacon of hope. That's, I guess, where those who are prepared will draw the less prepared to them. The unprepared, the less prepared will recognize these people are different, and they'll hopefully seek to grow stronger in their faith and stronger in their armor.
And we'll hopefully be ready to prepare them. But it also says that we have to be on the alert, because there'll be many that are trying to deceive us.
Yes. Yes. But for Christians who are prepared, there's a danger not only from outsiders, but also danger from within the ranks of those they are trying to teach. Some surviving groups of prepared Christians will be infiltrated and betrayed, and you quote, will unite with them deceitfully, by people who claim to be Christians, some of whom may even believe they are, but they have deceived themselves.
Yes, Daniel. Daniel tells us that in 11:33.
Right.
That many will unite with them deceitfully. They're not trying to learn. They're trying to turn in the group of believers that they've infiltrated, hoping to get some kind of reward for it or something. I don't know what exactly that means, but that, to me, that's what it seems like.
Hoping to avoid.
They're going to try to make they've already sided with the Antichrist. They're just trying to get higher up in there.